Good day everyone! I am Ira Juanillo, a first-year nursing student. Do you even think about what is the sound of our heart? Are you curious about that? Then let's take a deep talk. When a healthy heart beats, it makes sounds, a lub-dub sound. The first heart sound, lub, also known as S1, is caused by the closing of the AV valves after the atria have pumped blood into the ventricles. The second heart sound, dub, or S2, originates from the closing of the aortic and pulmonary valves right after the ventricles have ejected the blood. The time interval between S1 and S2 is when the ventricles contract, called systole. The interval between S2 and the next S1 is when the ventricles relax and are filled with blood, called diastole. The diastole is longer than systole, hence the lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. Heart sounds are oscillated at four different sites on the chest wall, which correspond to the location of blood flow as it passes through the aortic, pulmonic, tricuspid, and mitral valves, respectively. This is how similar defects associated with different valves are differentiated. Mitral valve regurgitation. When the mitral valve does not close properly and blood surges back to the left atrium during systole. The murmur starts at S1 when the AV valves close and maintains the same intensity for the entire duration of systole. The holosystolic murmur is best heard at the mitral region, the apex, with radiation to the left axilla. Because the valve closure in mitral regurgitation is incomplete, S1 is often quieter. On the other side of the heart, a tricuspid valve regurgitation has similar timing and shape, but it is the loudest in the tricuspid area and the sound radiates up along the left internal border. Aortic valve stenosis. When the aortic valve does not open properly and blood is forced through a narrow opening, the blood flow starts small, rises to a maximum in mid-systole at the peak of ventricular contraction, then attenuates toward the end of systole. This results in a decrescendo, or a diamond shape murmur which starts a short moment after S1. It is often preceded by an ejection click caused by the opening of the stenotic valve. Aortic stenosis murmur is loudest in the aortic area and the sound radiates to the carotid arteries in the neck following the direction of blood flow. Again, on the other side of the heart, a pulmonic stenosis has the same characteristic but it is best heard in the pulmonic area and does not radiate to the neck. Other conditions that causes audible systolic murmurs include ventricular septal defect and mitral valve prolapse. An example of diastolic murmur is aortic valve regurgitation. This is when the aortic valve does not close properly, resulting in blood flowing back to the left ventricle during diastole, the filling phase. As the blood flows in the reverse direction, the murmur is best heard not in the aortic area, but rather along the left sternal border. It peaks at the beginning of diastole when the pressure difference is highest, then rapidly decreases as the equilibrium is reached. Welcome back. For today's vlog, we will going to tackle about blood. So what is blood? Blood has always fascinated humans, and historically, there has been much speculation of its function. Blood was considered the essence of life because the uncontrolled loss of it can result in death. Many cultures around the world, both ancient and the modern, share beliefs in the magical qualities of blood. Blood was always thought to define our character and emotions. People of a noble bloodline were described as blue bloods, whereas criminals were considered to have bad blood. It was said that anger caused the blood to boil, and fear makes the blood curdle. The scientific study of blood reveals characteristics as fascinating as any of these fantasies. Blood performs many functions essential to life and can reveal much about our health. Blood is a type of connective tissues that consists of cells and cell fragments surrounded by a liquid matrix. The cells and cell fragments are the formed elements, and the liquid is the plasma. The formed elements account for slightly less than half, and plasma accounts for slightly more than half the total blood volume. The total blood volume in the average adult is about 4 to 5 liters in females and 5 to 6 liters in males. Blood makes up about 8% of total body weight. Blood is essential to life. Blood circulates through our body and delivers essential substances like oxygens and nutrients to the body's cells. It also transports metabolic waste products away from those same cells. There is no substitute for blood. It cannot be made of manufacture. Generous blood donors are the only source of blood for patients in need of a blood transfusion. This is the blood. Blood components. There are four basic components that comprise human blood: the plasma, the liquid, red blood cells which carry oxygen to the tissues, and white blood cells which fight infections, and platelets, smaller cells that help blood to clot. Blood components: the red blood cells and white blood cells and platelets. Red blood cells. Red blood cells, also called erythrocytes. Red blood cells represent 40% to 45% of your blood volume. They are generated from your bone marrow at a rate of 4 to 5 billion per hour. Life cycle is 120 days in the body. Plasma. Plasma is the liquid portion of your blood. Plasma is yellowish in color and is made up mostly of water, but it also contains proteins, sugars, hormones, and salts. It transports water and nutrients to your body's tissues. This constitutes approximately 55% of blood fluid in humans. The remaining 45% of the blood mainly consists of red and white blood cells and platelets. Plasma is 92% water, and the contents of the remaining 8% include carbon dioxide, glucose, hormones, proteins, mineral salts, fats, and vitamins. and the white blood cells. White blood cells only amount for about 1% of your blood. They are very important. White blood cells are essential for good health and protections against illness and disease, like red blood cells. They are constantly being generated from your bone marrow. They flow through the bloodstream and attack foreign bodies, like viruses and bacteria. They can even leave the bloodstream to extend the fight into tissue. And then the platelets. Platelets, also called thrombocytes. Platelets are the smallest of our blood cells and literally look like small plates in their non-active form. Platelets control bleeding. Wherever a wound occurs, the blood vessels will send out a signal. Platelets receive the signal and travel to the area and transform into their active formation, growing long tentacles to make contact with the vessel and form clusters to plug the wound until it heals. Functions of blood: supplying oxygen. Functions of blood: transport of gases, nutrients, and waste products. Oxygen enters blood in the lungs and is carried to cells. Carbon dioxide produced by cells is carried in the blood to the lungs, from which it is expelled. Ingested nutrients, ions, and water are transported by the blood from the digestive tract to cells. The waste products of the cells are transported to the kidneys for elimination. Transport of processed molecules. Many substances are produced in one part of the body and transported in the blood to another part, where they are modified. For example, the precursor to vitamin D is produced in the skin and transported by the blood to active vitamin D. The active vitamin D is transported to the small intestine, where it promotes the uptake of calcium. Another example is lactic acid, produced by skeletal muscle during anaerobic respiration. The lactic acid is carried to the liver, where it is converted into glucose. Transport of regulatory molecules. Many of the hormones and enzymes that regulate body processes are carried from one part of the body to another within the blood. Regulation of pH and osmosis. Buffers which help keep the blood's pH within its normal limits of 7.35 to 7.45 are found in the blood. The osmotic composition of blood is also critical for maintaining normal fluid and ion balance. Maintenance of body temperature. Blood is involved with body temperature regulation because warm blood is transported from the inferior to the surface of the body, where heat is released from the blood. Protection against foreign substances. Cells and chemicals of the blood constitute an important part of the immune system, protecting against foreign substances such as microorganisms and toxins. Clot formation. Blood clotting provides protection against excessive blood loss when blood vessels are damaged. When tissues are damaged, The blood clot that forms is also the first step in tissues repair and the restoration of normal function.